Welcome back to the deep dive. I'm glad you're here because today we are wading into waters that I think pretty much everyone has dipped a toe into at some point.
Oh, for sure.
Or if you haven't personally, have definitely watched your friends drown in them.
It's the deep end of the pool, for sure.
It is. We're talking about the massive, just seismic shift in how human beings meet, court, and couple up.
Right.
And I'm not just talking about the shift from, meeting at a bar to meeting on an app. I'm talking about a fundamental rewiring of our social infrastructure.
It really is one of the biggest social changes of the last, say, 20 years. It has completely rewritten the script on relationships, marriage, even just casual human connection.
Absolutely. The days of getting set up by your Aunt Linda or bumping into your future spouse in the frozen food aisle, they aren't gone, but they're definitely the B-side to the main event now. We are talking about online dating.
Internet dating, virtual dating, mobile app dating, it's all the same beast.
And I think for most people, the conversation usually stops at the complaints. Ugh, Tinder is the worst, or you won't believe the weird message I just got.
Or the classic, why are all the photos of guys holding fish?
Exactly. But today, we're going to push past the anecdotes. We are going to look under the hood. I've got a massive stack of sources here. We're pulling primarily from Wikipedia's aggregation of data, which is incredibly dense. But it includes studies from the New York Times, MarketWatch, Psychological Science.
And the really heavy-duty analysis of user behavior on apps like Tinder and OkCupid.
And that's what's so important, because when you step back from the profile photos and the witty bios, what you're really looking at is a marketplace.
It's an economy, a full-blown economy of desire.
That's the mission today. We aren't just talking about romance. We are talking about game theory, evolutionary psychology, and algorithmic design.
Yeah.
I want to figure out why, if we have all this amazing technology connecting us to millions of people, does it feel so incredibly exhausting?
And I'm here to tell you that the exhaustion isn't in your head. It's actually a feature, or at least a byproduct, of the math and sociology running the show.
So it's baked into the system.
Completely. We've moved from a world of scarcity to a world of abundance. And our brains aren't exactly handling it well.
So let's unpack this. I want to start with what we're calling the marketplace of desire. Because when you strip away the emotions, we are all just commodities on a shelf, aren't we?
In a cold economic sense.
Yes.
Yes. You are a product. Your profile is the packaging.
And like any marketplace, there are trends in who gets bought and who stays on the shelf.
Exactly.
So let's look at the demographics first. This is the stuff that usually gets people arguing, but the numbers are the numbers.
They are.
There was a 2018 study analyzed by the New York Times that honestly made me gasp when I read it. It was about desirability curves based on age.
This is a classic example of revealed preferences versus stated preferences. People say one thing in surveys, oh, I just want someone kind, but they're clicks and swipes.
They tell a very different story.
A very different story. The study analyzed the activity of about 200,000 users to see when desirability peaks.
Okay, lay it on me. Let's start with the women. At what age does the data say a woman is most desirable on these apps?
For women, the peak age of desirability is 18.
18. That is the literal minimum legal age to be on the app.
It is. The moment a woman enters the digital marketplace, she is statistically at her peak value.
And it doesn't just peak there, right? It falls off.
It declines steeply after age 20. It's a very sharp downward curve.
That is brutal. I mean, think about the life experience of an 18-year-old versus a 25-year-old. But the market says, no, give me the 18-year-old.
The market is ruthless. Now, compare that to men.
I have a feeling this is going to be different.
It is the inverse. Men's desirability sets quite low in their early 20s. But it climbs.
It keeps climbing.
It keeps climbing. It peaks at age 50.
50. So you have an 18-year-old peak versus a 50-year-old peak. That is a 32-year gap.
It's a massive disparity.
What is going on there? Is that just pure biology?
Yep.
Is this the caveman brain telling men to look for fertility?
Well, that's part of the argument. Developmental psychologists often point to evolutionary theory, the idea that men are hardwired to look for youth as a sign of reproductive viability.
The biological imperative.
Right. But there's a huge sociological component to this, too. It's not just biology.
Right. I saw a quote from a psychotherapist, Stacy Kaiser, I think it was, in MarketWatch. She did not mince words about this dynamic.
No, she didn't. She offered a perspective that goes beyond just biology. She noted that men often prefer younger women because, in her words, they are easier to impress and more moldable.
Moldable, that is. Yikes, that word makes my skin crawl a little bit.
It implies a power dynamic, doesn't it? She suggested younger partners might be more flexible on everything from emotional behavior to simply picking a restaurant.
Less baggage.
Less expectations and less baggage were her exact words.
So the argument is that a 50-year-old guy doesn't want to deal with a 40-year-old woman who knows what she wants and won't put up with his nonsense?
He wants someone he can influence. That's the cynical but sociologically supported interpretation.
But flip the script, why are women interested in the 50-year-old man? Because the data says they are interested.
Right, his desirability is going up.
Yeah.
Well, Kaiser points out that women are optimizing for something different. They are looking for stability and resources.
So education, financial security, career establishment.
Exactly. These are all attributes that typically accumulate with age.
So the 50-year-old man represents resource security, while the 18-year-old woman represents fertility and, frankly, compliance.
It's transactionality at its peak. You trade youth for security. It's an old story, but the apps quantify it in a way that's just impossible to ignore.
Speaking of resources and education, let's talk about the education gap, because I always assumed being smarter and more educated is a universal plus in the dating market, right?
You'd think so?
If I get a degree, I should be a hotter commodity.
For men, absolutely. The data is consistent. The more educated a man is, the higher his desirability goes. A master's or PhD is like a gold star.
It signals competence, potential income.
Yep. But for women,
it's complicated.
It's complicated.
Of course it is.
One study found that women's desirability increases with education, but only up to a point. It peaks at a bachelor's degree.
And after that, a master's, a PhD.
Her desirability in that specific data set actually decreased.
So she gets penalized for being too educated.
In that data set, yes. Though, to be fair, other studies have found that men didn't necessarily dislike highly educated women. They just didn't give them a bonus for it.
So it's more of a plateau than a cliff.
A plateau, right.
Yeah.
They mainly just disfavor those with low education. But it certainly isn't the linear more is better graph that men get.
No, and when you look at specific markets, like China, it gets really specific.
The data from China regarding job titles was fascinating.
It was wild.
Yes. They looked at specific industries on a major dating site. For men, being in IT or finance makes you highly desired.
Makes sense. High resource jobs, money, stability.
But for women, women in IT or finance were the least desired demographic.
That is just, it's so telling. I want the money, but I don't want the woman who knows how to make the money.
It suggests a lingering adherence to traditional gender roles. You know, men want to be the provider. If the woman is a high-powered finance executive, it disrupts that dynamic.
It challenges the ego. We have to talk about race, too, because this is where the whole marketplace analogy gets really uncomfortable.
It is.
The data on racial bias and swiping is pretty undeniable.
It is. And it's important to say, online dating doesn't create racism, but it acts as a lens that magnifies it. It allows for effortless filtering based on bias.
So what do the numbers say? What's the hierarchy?
Multiple studies going back over a decade show these distinct hierarchies. Generally, white men and Asian women tend to be the most desired demographics across the board.
And who is on the other end of that spectrum?
Historically, Black women and Asian men have had the hardest time securing matches.
I've heard that.
Although, a more recent analysis did challenge the narrative around Asian men slightly, suggesting they aren't as uniquely disadvantaged as previously thought compared to other men of color. But the hierarchy is still very much there.
And there was a point about who is doing the excluding that I found really telling.
Yes. This is crucial because it challenges some assumptions. It turns out white women are much more exclusionary than white men.
What's the stat on that?
One study found that white women exclude non-white men at significantly higher rates than white men exclude non-white women.
Okay, so it's not just personal preference. We are seeing societal hierarchies mapping directly onto our digital choices.
Exactly. And the algorithm reinforces it. This is the danger. If you never swipe right on a certain demographic, the app eventually stops showing them to you.
It creates a segregated reality.
It does. You might think, oh, there just aren't diverse people in my area, but actually the app has decided you don't like them, so it hid them. It effectively automates segregation.
Which is a perfect segue into how the apps actually work, because it's not just about who we are, it's about the strategy we use.
Yes, the game theory of it all.
This is where it gets really interesting for me.
Me too. There was a study by Gareth Tyson from Queen Mary University of London. He analyzed Tinder behavior in NYC and London, and he found that men and women are basically playing two different sports.
Okay, Let's break down the male strategy first.
Tyson found that men generally adopt what we call the shotgun approach.
Meaning they just swipe right on everything.
They like a massive proportion of profiles. They are swiping right on almost everyone. The goal is to maximize the potential for any match. Quantity over quality.
They aren't reading the bios, are they?
Oh, definitely not. It's speed swiping.
But does it work?
Statistically, no. The study found men received matches only 0.6% of the time.
Wait, 0.6%? That is less than 1 in 100.
It is statistically negligible. It's a strategy of desperation. You are throwing everything at the wall, and basically nothing is sticking.
Okay, now the women. What's their game?
Women use the sniper approach.
Highly selective.
Highly selective. They swipe right very rarely. They actually evaluate the profiles. And their match rate, about 10%.
So women are selective and successful. Men are indiscriminate and failing.
And this creates a vicious cycle. It's a feedback loop that destroys the user experience for everyone.
Walk us through this cycle. How does that work?
Okay. Step 1. Men realize they rarely get matches. So to increase their odds, they start swiping right on everyone.
Just spamming a like button.
Exactly. Which then floods the women with notifications. So step 2. Women get overwhelmed with matches. They have choice overload.
So to manage the noise, they have to get even pickier.
They become even more selective. They raise the bar because they can't possibly talk to 500 people.
And because women raise the bar.
Step 3. Men get even fewer matches. So they become even more desperate and swipe even more indiscriminately.
It's a race to the bottom. The signal-to-noise ratio is completely broken.
It is. A like from a man essentially means nothing because he likes everyone. It has no value. A like from a woman implies a high degree of intent.
And this imbalance carries over into the messaging, right? Even when a match happens, the effort levels are totally different.
Drastically different. Men send messages much faster, within 5 minutes of matching, but they average about 12 characters.
12 characters, that's hey, and maybe a smiley face.
Pretty much. Women wait longer, about 18 minutes, but their first messages average 122 characters.
They're actually trying to start a conversation.
Exactly. And there was a super counterintuitive point about positive messages from men.
Oh yeah, I saw this. Being nice hurts you. How is that possible?
The study found that positively worded messages from men compliments, flattery, actually decreased the response rate.
Why? Everyone likes a compliment.
It's not that being nice hurts, it's that generic niceness hurts. If you say you have a beautiful smile, it signals that you'd probably say that to everyone.
It's low-effort spam, a copy-paste job.
Precisely. Women are filtering for specific engagement. If you look like a bot or a shotgunner, you get ignored.
So the apps are stuck in this loop. How do they try to fix it? I know they use algorithms to try and get better matches.
They do. They use something called collaborative filtering. Think of it like Amazon or Netflix recommendations.
People who bought this toaster also bought these headphones.
Exactly. Dating apps started doing this. They realized that people lie about what they want. You might say you want a tall, outdoorsy guy who loves reading.
But you keep swiping on short, indoor gamers.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah?
We don't always know what we want. So the app ignores your stated preferences. It looks at your revealed preferences. It says, okay, she liked person A. Other people who like person A also like person B. So we will show her person B.
So it matches us based on our behavior, not our profile settings.
Correct. And this approach was found to increase response chances by 40%. It's much more effective. Is the algorithm saying, I know you better than you know yourself?
That's smart. But there's another study from China in 2024 that threw a wrench in the idea of more data is better.
The less is more paradox.
Right.
They found that seeing a short profile, just the basics, actually led to more matches than seeing a long, detailed profile.
Why? I feel like I'd want to know more before I match.
You'd think so. But detailed profiles highlight preference mismatches. Maybe you see they like a political candidate you hate, or they love cats and you're allergic.
You find a reason to say no.
You find a reason to say no before you even say hello. But if the profile is short,
you project your own desires onto the gaps. You fill in the blanks with what you hope they're like.
Ambiguity is attractive because it allows for fantasy.
So we are falling in love with a blank canvas, which explains why so many first dates are disappointments. You're meeting the reality, not the projection.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know the game is rigged. We know the biases are there. But people still have to use these things. Let's talk strategy. If you're listening to this and you're on the apps, how do you actually win?
Well, if we want to get really nerdy, we can look at optimal stopping theory.
Please, let's get nerdy. What is optimal stopping?
It's a mathematical problem, often called the secretary problem or the 37% rule.
Okay, explain the 37% rule.
The theory suggests that if you have a pool of potential partners, say you are willing to date 100 people, the mathematically optimal strategy is to reject the first 37% of them completely.
You just burn through the first third, even if they are amazing.
You date them, you evaluate them, but you do not commit. You use them just to establish a baseline of what is out there. You have to calibrate your expectations.
Okay, so I've dated 37 people. Then what?
Once you have passed that 37% mark, you then commit to the very next person who is better than everyone you saw in the first group.
That is incredibly cold.
It is cold. It's an algorithm.
Yeah.
But mathematically, it maximizes your probability of picking the absolute best candidate.
I feel like explaining to my date that they are part of my 37% baseline rejection phase would not go over well.
I would not recommend that as a pickup line. Congratulations, you are the first data point to exceed my calibration set.
Yeah, enjoy being single after saying that. But speaking of aiming high, let's talk about leagues. Is that real?
It is very real in the data. Researchers found that about 75% of users tried to date up. They define aspirational dating as trying to initiate contact with someone who is about 25% more desirable than yourself.
Everyone wants a deal. Everyone wants to trade up.
Right. And usually, this results in rejection. That's why the match rates are so low. But here's the silver lining. Persistence actually pays off sometimes.
Really?
The study found that because the choice set is so wide, people who are persistent do occasionally succeed in upgrading their league.
So shooting your shot actually works.
It has a low success rate, but it's not zero. And because the cost of sending a message is so low, it encourages people to keep reaching.
But this reaching creates a lot of noise. And it also creates an environment ripe for deception. We have to talk about the lying.
Oh yeah, everybody lies. Well, 9 out of 10 participants lie on at least one attribute, according to one study.
9 out of 10? What are they lying about?
Weight is the most common lie. Men tend to add a few inches to their height. Women tend to subtract a few pounds.
Classic.
Age is actually the least lied about, surprisingly. But people constantly tweak their income, their job titles. It's impression management.
And sometimes it goes beyond just tweaking stats. We've seen the rise of ghosting.
Ghosting is a fascinating social phenomenon. It's the practice of vanishing without explanation, and it's largely blamed on choice overload.
Right. If you have 50 other matches, the social cost of ignoring one person feels very low.
Exactly. In online dating, you don't share a social circle. If I ghost user 492, there are no consequences. Nobody holds me accountable.
It's a low accountability environment. And that has led to a massive counter movement, right? Are we dating the same guy? Groups.
Oh, these are huge.
Yeah.
I think there are over 120 of them on Facebook now. It's a crowdsourced background check system. Women post screenshots of profiles and ask any tea or red flags. It's an attempt to reimpose social accountability on a system that stripped it away.
It's like the users are building their own safety layer because the apps aren't doing it.
Right.
Which brings us to the so what of this whole discussion. We have this massive machine, billions of swipes, sophisticated algorithms. Are we actually winning? Are we happier?
That is the paradox. We have more choice than any generation in history. Barry Schwartz calls this the paradox of choice. When you have too many options, you experience choice overload.
It paralyzes you.
It does, and it creates phobo fear of a better option. You fear that if you pick one person, you might be missing out on a slightly better person just one swipe away.
It undermines the willingness to commit. Why work through a rough patch in a relationship when you can just open the app?
Exactly. People become disposable.
So, does this lead to worse marriages or better ones? What's the data say?
The data is conflicting, which is frustrating.
Give me the good news first.
A PNAS study in 2013 suggested that online marriages had slightly higher satisfaction and lower divorce rates. The argument is that these people are more motivated and shopped around more.
Okay. And the bad news?
A 2020 study linked increased broadband access to higher divorce rates. And a 2024 study suggested an online dating effect where marriages are less satisfying.
Why would that be?
They theorize it might be due to a lack of community support around the relationship because you met in a vacuum, or just that people who meet online know how easy it is to go back and look for alternative.
It seems like the industry itself is hitting a wall, too. I've seen the headlines about Match Group and Bumble stock.
It's a bloodbath financially. Between 2021 and 2024, they lost about $40 billion in market value.
$40 billion. That is a staggering amount of value destruction.
It reflects user fatigue. People are tired. They're tired of the gamification. They're paying monthly subscriptions and not getting the result they want.
It's almost like the business model is at odds with the user's goal.
That is the provocative thought to end on. If the app makes money by showing you ads or keeping you subscribed, does it actually want you to find, love, and leave?
If I find a partner, I delete the app. They lose a customer.
Exactly. A perfectly efficient dating app would put itself out of business. So we are left with a system designed to be just efficient enough to keep you hopeful, but perhaps not efficient enough to let you leave.
That is slightly depressing, but also explains a lot.
It explains why you are still swiping at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We have moved from the scarcity of the village to the abundance of the globe.
But our brains are still wired for the village. We aren't built to handle thousands of rejections or thousands of options.
The algorithm gets you to the table, as we said, but it can't eat the dinner for you.
And it certainly can't guarantee you'll like the food.
Thank you for listening to this deep dive. I hope next time you open that app, you see the matrix code behind the profile picture.
It might not get you a date, but at least you'll know why you're swiping.
Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.